So for a long time I didn't understand that. I just had an intuition that it would be good to have a personal practice, and I chose a couple. And I saw other people who had chosen good practice and kept doing it, and I saw they had something that I would like to have. But today I could say that I understand that good personal practices, whether they are meditation, Aikido, Tai Chi, reflection time, for some it's prayer. I don't, want to judge anybody, anything to be better than the other. That's up to everybody to discover. But the very act of practicing something. But the litmus test for me, if the practice is worth practicing or what, is, does it make me conscious or not? If it gives me a lot of spiritual dreams and interpretations that confuses me, so I don't become more capable of living life happily and be interacting with other human beings, but it makes me judge other people because I think my view is better than the other. I'm not interested in those. Those practices people can do, of course, it's their own thing. But to me, to be conscious, and not even just to be, presencing, but to live consciously. And know that when you begin to become unconscious, you need to go rest or you need to go and do your personal practice. And it's a daily thing, it's like food. And so I hope for any human, and because of the confusion and incredible turmoil in the world now, all of our systems is shifting. Everything anybody believed here, I would have a job forever if I just got that, or I would always be Lithuanian or Danish or American, or even our national, the whole thing, in 1 or 2 generations, the way we perceive the world is going to be very, very different. And you look back in history, my grandfather only was in 1 other country in his life, and when I was 20 I'd already been in 35. He never saw a television in his life. So now we have smartphones. The speed of all of this evolution takes some centering to be able to stand in it and not be confused by it. And this is my concern, and many of my contemporaries who are talking with some of the other people this morning. We are concerned for the younger people who don't have found themselves. And even talking about finding yourself, is people think, no, get an education. What is the most incredible education a human being can get is to find yourself. Then you can learn all of these other skills. But a person who doesn't know who he is or who she is, not intellectually, but you are aware of your own being. You are in self-knowledge. This is all the wisdom traditions before they became religions. Speak of this. Know yourself and you will know everything else. If you want to try and know just the world and not yourself, you will never understand them. And so, to me, personal practice, to be conscious and to be in a process of self-knowledge, of keep knowing more about this incredible thing about being alive in this moment. And then the next one, and then the next one. And then this appreciation can come, which I think many of us are feeling very lonely. Because, the best friend we maybe have is our own deepest self. You begin to befriend your own self, then being a friend with everybody and everything else just flows naturally from you. So there's so much to benefit. But of course you need to be choosing carefully, and I hope that the good practices that doesn't confuse people would become, kindergarten, school, that personal practice, contemplative practice, whatever they could be, would be part of the curriculum. Now talking about how could education be improved, here we got something that would really shift things. And that's, friends in the world, there's nothing to be afraid of. This knowing yourself is the sweetest journey. And it's available for anybody. Somebody was saying this morning, we have to teach the children to ask questions. And I said, I disagree. children know how to ask questions. They're completely curious about everything. I mean, my grandson, he will be teaching me every little thing on the grass, a little spider, and we look at it and the whole world disappears. We just look at this other little being. I said, no, you have to stop behaving in such a fashion that we disturb this curiosity, this love for learning that we are born with. And to me, if we would remove some of our fingers from the control handles of the educational system, because we want people to become a certain way so that we can fulfill whatever fucking policy we have in our head about what is right and wrong. But if those people who decide this has no wisdom, they're lost in their own intelligent unconsciousness, that is not a direction, and I then have made my choices. I go where I can be a learner, and I don't want to participate in that which will stop my inquisitiveness. And one of the strengths that I have to not be afraid to walk away from the flood comes from my personal practices. By knowing myself, nobody owns me. And nobody should own anybody. It's called freedom. And freedom is not philosophy. It's a moment-to-moment thing. That you know, in this world, you're given some time and you can walk your own path. If you want to be doing it with other people and call it society, cool. But society is not the purpose. What if knowing yourself, and through that knowing and appreciating everything else in life, is the purpose? And in that way, well-being for everyone is just following naturally.